and I'm joined by Chrissy and Rick, aka the Blackheart Orchestra. How you guys doing?
We're good,
We're doing
thank
great. Thanks for
you.
having us.
How are
No,
you?
no, I'm doing good, guys. Yeah, I'm all right, thank you. Yeah, good to speak to you again. Obviously, since we last spoke, you released Hotel Utopia, your brand new album, which is an absolute stunning record. I've got to say, guys, I've been soaking it up since it's come out. So, when you sent your press release out saying, you have to talk to people, I absolutely wanted to get you back on board. It's a beautiful album.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
yeah,
Thank
I'm
you.
so pleased that you think so. It's been a bit of a whirlwind. I mean, it's been out for 5 weeks now.
Yeah,
How
Wow.
has that happened already?
I don't know. It feels like an old album, nearly, so doesn't it? I mean, it's taken so long to make that album. I think we spent about 3 years in the whole process of starting to conceive it, write it, record it, and then market it and everything, get it ready for launch. It's been a long journey, hasn't it?
Mm, yeah,
I think we put more work into that album than any previous album as well. But we're thrilled with the results, and we're thrilled that everybody seems to be okay with it. And thanks for your nice words.
No worries, man. Did you approach it differently to any of your previous releases then, or did you go with the same sort of line?
um, I guess because it was done in between sort of lockdown, the times that we could go into the studio and the times that we couldn't. So that was different. But we recorded at the same studio with the same engineer that we always use. But I guess things are just like a natural progression, aren't they? So this album, you've heard it, so there's much more guitar on than the previous two albums
Yeah,
as the
that's right.
Blackheart Orchestra. So it's been like just a real natural evolution. That nothing was conscious. It was just like it just happened as it happened, didn't it? Just a real natural flow.
It was a natural flow. We never have a plan for these albums until we get started on them, and then they kind of form their own plans in the process of gestation and being born. They really are like children. You don't know really what sex they're going to be until they pop out, and or what flavor they're going to be. This one was never really intended to be more of a rock album, but I think it's turned out to be our most rock album yet. As you say, Chrissy, it's almost a bit down to the guitar playing.
Yeah.
I've become an ex-guitar player in my mind. I've been a guitar player since I was 11 years old, but I felt like over the past few years and the past few albums, I've hardly been playing guitar at all. So I kind of rediscovered that, and I think that's added a different kind of ingredient to Hotel Utopia, which I'm quite happy with.
Yeah, and some of the songs kind of asked for that as well. So some of the songs that were written, even though, the concept of the album is kind of exploring like this potential afterlife and all of this, some of the songs are kind of like quite upbeat and up tempo, and they kind of and a little bit darker as well, and they kind of that weight of that heavier electric guitar kind of really just lent itself to it, didn't it? And
It does. I mean, there's a long distance between a heavy guitar and a beautifully light played piano, and I think that I think this album's got a wider kind of horizon to previous albums as well. Just musically, it's a bit broader than our previous ones.
I must say, there's a lot of touches on this from Under the Headlights to Astronaut to Dangerous Thing to Casting Spells. They're all various along the spectrum, like you say. It's interesting you bring up about the guitar things. That's one thing I did sort of clock. And I remember last time we spoke, Rick, he was saying that, you didn't see yourself as a guitarist in the band. You saw yourself as using whatever tool you had to do to write the song as it was meant to be. So it wasn't a conscious decision then to bring more guitar in on this record.
I don't think so. I don't think it was ever a plan. But I think once we started, getting the guitar out of its case, which has not been played for quite a long time, and my mind hadn't played guitar for a long time. I was beginning to think in a different way. When we were in the studio, I wasn't automatically thinking, I'm the guitar player in this band, I better get my guitar out and work out some parts. I never thought like that, and I almost gravitated more towards the piano than the guitar, which was kind of a weird feeling for me. Felt like I'd lost my identity and found a new one. And but once we got the guitar out, I think we started to really get quite into it, didn't we?
definitely. And I think also it was like you not learning how to play guitar in this band, but all of your roots have been very bluesy.
Yeah.
So you kind of thought, well, I'm a blues guitar player. That I play heavy rock blues. That's what I play, and we don't write blues music. So for him, it was like, well, I'll play bass, I'll play drums, I'll do something else. So it was almost like adding maybe some, because to me, and I don't think this was conscious at all, but I kind of hear in some of your guitar playing on like The Tide and maybe even Astronaut, it's a little bit Steve Reich-y in its discipline. You know, it isn't bending notes. It's very kind of like this repetitive kind of building up these patterns almost.
It was. I mean, I'm a big kind of addict of Steve Reich and lots of kind of, I don't know what you call those kind of guys, modernist musicians or modern classical composers. Not quite sure what tag to give them.
Excellent.
But you know, like Philip Glass, and who are people who are playing with notes and playing with frequencies and also playing with instrumental tones and textures. I've really got into that. Whereas, you know, 10, 20 years ago, I would have been into Rakuda or Jeff Beck, or you know, that kind of tradition. Neither of those kind of traditional. Come on, but you know, that more kind of way of playing and way of looking at the instrument, the guitar instrument. But I think I've kind of discarded that now. Maybe it's been a refreshing thing to do. I think it has been a good thing to just
like you
clean my head.
Find where guitar fits within our music.
Yeah. I think it's been waiting to find its place, and that's why I've been scared of using it previously, in case I just messed up what we were, you know, and imposed guitar upon our music, which wouldn't have been a good thing sometimes.
Well, you say that, mate, but what I would say is, you know, you guys have got an undefinable sound with the layers that you build up and everything else, and no matter what layer you put a guitar line there, it's not going to ruin everything else that you've built up over the previous. Just certain songs like Astronaut, I thought when that guitar kicks in, like when you go into that heavier piece of Astronaut, I thought that worked brilliantly. I thought it sounded great, and I wasn't expecting it because on your previous releases there wasn't so much guitar. So when it came in, it really hits you because you're not sort of expecting that from you guys. I thought it was brilliant. It's one of my favorite songs on the album, Astronaut. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you. It's one of mine too.
Great. Yeah,
pleased to hear you say that, actually. Yeah,
I remember when we recorded that, and then we recorded the chorus, like you said, and I remember us coming out of the studio and listening to it, and we're like, are people going to be shocked? Are they going to think we've turned metal? You know, we were very much, we almost surprised ourselves with that, because it was just like, just flat out, you know, heavy guitar and like
rock, isn't it?
on translucent and stuff as well. You know, some of those, that riff is pretty dark, but it was nice to explore that part of ourselves. You know, we love beauty in tracks, but sometimes life and music is hard and heavy and aggressive, and it was interesting to add a little bit of anger to our music in a way, not in a, you know, rah, but sometimes we get angry, and that's all right. It's almost like,
especially with the subject matter that you're dealing with on this album, like you say, it's loosely based around the afterlife. That's a dark enough subject matter to bring those elements in.
But yet it's our happiest album.
But, you know, I've had conversations with bands who do play the heavier side of things, and equally, I would say it's just the reverse of what you're talking about. You know, you want that light and shade on any musicality album. You know, without the light, if you had just, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like some heavier stuff, but if it's just all pure thrash, then there's no differentiation in it. I find it quite boring. I find it thingy, and you know, if you're flipping it and you're putting it, you know, darker side into more atmospheric stuff, more ambient stuff, then I think it's doing the same thing that a lighter touch on heavier stuff does as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, a lot of kind of music is on cruise control. I think, you know, you know, maybe a certain band or an artist has a certain identity, and that becomes an expectation from their audience. You know, so they set the cruise to, you know, the last successful album that they've got, and press it on and just drive along with no feet on the pedals.
And
that's not us.
Well, and I think we're really lucky that our fans are open and kind of expect us to kind of do something that maybe they're not expecting us to do, because they know we're always collecting and buying new crazy instruments that people have thrown away, and I think they kind of expect that from us. So it feels like, because it must, I mean, you know, it must feel horrible if you feel penned in. I feel lucky that we don't. But like I said, some of the heavier stuff, when we did Translucent, we did kind of think, are people gonna accept this from us, or are they gonna be like, please just throw away
we were quite scared because you know you're taking a risk with you know, the anti position to what I've just said is people do in a way want you to say the same, because they find something that they like, and you know they don't want you to divert from that.
But you're probably never going to divert too much if you're being like your authentic self anyway, but we do grow, don't we? And we have new experiences each year, you know, each day.
Yeah.
Something we discover something of ourselves, and then we pour that into the music, and that is the newness of each album.
Absolutely.
Like you say, each album's just a snapshot of a various point of your psyche. You know, we've all got various sides to ourselves, and I think that the artists for me that I really connect with are the ones who do show all sides. I don't want, don't get me wrong, I love AC/DC, but you know, and they're sort of the classic what we're talking about of just a band who've got a sound and stick to it. But equally, you know, I love David Bowie and I love Stephen Wilson and artists like that who you don't know when you buy that album what it's going to be.
Yeah,
you don't know. It's going to be them. It's going to be undefinably them, but you don't know what it's going to be. And normally with artists like that, you also don't know what it's going to be like until you've fully soaked it up. You never get it on first listen. It's all, and those albums are the ones that stick with me most. And this is no exception. You know, like I said, I've been sewing it for weeks, and as the, you know, as I've spun it more and more and more, the albums got more into my psyche, and certain songs have grown and sort of relieved themselves to me, as it were. And you know, it's a great record. You guys should be really proud of it. I don't think you should be down yourselves at all.
Thank you very, very much.
We are really proud. It is just that, you know, that time lag between doing it and then it actually being released into the world, and then by the time it's released, you're almost like, what's next? And it's so hard to be disciplined and think.
When did you guys actually finish with the record? Obviously, it's been out 5 weeks, but when did you actually finish work on it as such?
I feel like I've completely lost.
Well, Raise Your Heart was the album was actually finished with 12 tracks, and then we wrote Raise Your Heart.
Okay.
Started putting it into a couple of shows, and when was that? And then we thought, is this the first track of the next album, or is this the extra track that we should squeeze onto this album?
And we thought it's completely like in line with like reincarnation and being saved, and we thought it has to go on this album. I think we recorded that early this year.
I think it was just after, in the new year,
and then we were planning on releasing it in April, and then there was some delays like with the mastering and stuff, so then everything there's always delays, isn't there? And then, you know, so it was like a year, you know, probably, really, apart from adding the final track, it was like a year between finishing it and then the release. We even did the artwork, we did the photography at the end of last year or the beginning of this year. It was all so very, you know, it takes so much more time than what you think.
I think taking the time is a good thing as well, because it gives you time to consider things really thoroughly. And, you know, with us, we're not just about songs, and well, we are, of course, but we're also about the artwork. We create everything, every little detail from you know, the mastering to the typography. To the typography. It's all done on our kitchen table, basically, metaphorically. So it's good to have the time to really soak yourself in an album, and then when it does finally come out, you just know that every single detail of it is exactly as you want it, and that's a magnificently satisfying feeling. You know, I've heard of lots of bands whose record labels have designed the covers for them and created the packaging for them. They were unhappy with it. They didn't feel the packaging reflected the music, etc., etc., etc. You know, didn't like the mix or whatever. That must be so disheartening.
It's got to be, because like you say, it's even down to like you said, typography and everything. It's still a representation of the art you're trying to convey. It's all
the same product. To me, it's all one product. You know, the visual and the audio is all one product.
And it's really important, isn't it? You know, when I buy, because I still like buying physical stuff. You know, I've only in the last 2 years started my vinyl collection, and you know, I love receiving physical packages, and I love seeing how much care or not has gone into it, and you know, does it all fit together? Did somebody really pour their heart into it? And like you say, I mean, we're kind of control freaks to the extreme, but people are getting that package and they know it's completely us. They know every single thing.
I think that's just part of being an artist, of being true to yourself, though, isn't it? What you care about, it's what your passion is. So you're going to be nitpicky to the 9th degree, and otherwise you just don't really care, really, I guess. But
absolutely, because we had loads of nightmares, like when we're trying to do the artwork and stuff like that, and like we'll like spot an error, and we're like, no. And when we finally send it off to like the pressing plant, and we're like, are the colors going to be okay? Are they going? And we have sleepless nights until the physical product turns up, and we open it and we go,
Oh,
Thank God for that.
but then that's a horrible moment. It means you've finished the job. You've come to the end of that road, and you've got to go round the roundabout and find a new road to start. And the destination is like 2 or 3 years away. And that's thinking now. I'm thinking, oh wow, you know, we're at the bottom of another mountain now, looking at the top, and thinking, what's the climb going to be like?
This climb's already started, to be honest. So I think
Really
that's the exciting bit. I think as soon as you release an album, it's almost like a psychological thing. You give yourself permission then to start daydreaming.
I don't think you do.
I have started daydreaming.
I don't. I think there's a vacuum where an album should be, and I'm feeling scared that we've not kind of written the first 6 tracks already. You know, I know we have technically, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I don't feel that. I feel quite excited, but whilst also the business part of me is like, but this is your new album. Still stay with this. This is still important for the next 2 years. This is your new album.
And this is your income, and this is our reputation for the next 2 years. And you know, this is our touring base. You know, this is us for 2 years. You're absolutely right.
And that's where you want that, you know, that really involved record label doing all that stuff, so that you can start daydreaming, you know, like you were when you were a kid looking through the Argos catalogue at what you're going to get for Christmas. Yeah.
Well, this one now is our job. It's the first record we've released on our own label, Seandar Records.
Oh, okay.
So therefore, everything is down to us now. So it's a big job. You know, I don't think we realised how much the record label, how much of the load the labels took off us. But doing this has been a monster job, hasn't it?
Wow, but it's really empowering.
I was going to say, how have you found that, dude, like being in control of that side of it as well?
Oh, we're control freaks, so for us, it's really. I think it would have to be a really good deal to make us sign with somebody else. It would have to be, you know, they would have to be able to do more than what we could do for ourselves, because I think we realise how much we do anyway.
Yeah.
Because we're incredibly involved. We got on board with a really great distribution company, and they, you know, it's been a really good experience. You know, we still got into the rock chart. You know, we did at first. You know, we thought we got into the charts with Mesperanto, and we thought, well, we're not going to this time because this is a self-release. But the fact that we did and it was higher was like, we can do this.
Yeah, we can. I mean, like you say, you know, big shout out to Townsend Records, who did our distributors now. They've been fantastic and helping us along the way and doing the things that we were nearly blowing our brains out trying to figure out how to do this, that, and the other. And they've been a tremendous partner in this album as well. So, you know, full mark to Townsend.
That's good that you've got that support, especially like while you're still learning that side of it as well.
Exactly.
You know,
absolutely. And it's like, it is a minefield, but I do think it's really liberating, because we've always believed we have to be on a label.
Yeah.
And it isn't true. You know, we and you have all of that freedom of, and also you've only got yourself to blame as well. So rather than being angry at somebody else because they didn't do it, we're just angry at each other, aren't we?
Yeah, totally.
And that's why the heaviness of the guitars came in, was it? You just getting annoyed with each other, so the guitar.
the rage. But you know, in a you know, in an industry at the moment where it's getting harder and harder to make a living, it's really important that we, you know, lots of artists can be independent, because they've not got that other cut going out of their music that they've paid for probably and licensed them to a record label.
So before you get on to the next mountain, though, as we were talking about, you just before we hit record, you guys got quite an extensive amount of touring, obviously, to catch up on after your own injury, Chrissy, and obviously in support of this record. So when does that all kick off?
It kicks off at the very last week in February and goes through the whole of March, the whole of April,
wow,
the whole of May, and the beginning of June. So it's a long distance. It's pretty much 3 solid months of touring, which is going to be, you know, something to look forward to. I'm really looking forward to it. You know, getting back in the van and getting back on the road. That's I kind of think that's where we shine the brightest. Really, that's where I feel more me than anywhere else. Really. Except at the studio. When I'm in the studio, I love that as well. You know, I can't make my mind up what I prefer, but being on the road is always great. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
I'm gonna have to keep out some eye out from dates, because I've not seen you guys since I saw you supporting Life Science, and I need to come to a headline
right.
show. So yeah, that was the last time I saw you guys. So I need to sort that out.
Right.
Yeah,
Whereabouts
that
was
was a
that?
while ago, wasn't it?
That was a while ago. Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Last year was it?
Was it? Which gig was it?
Norwich at the
Makers.
Yeah, the
Brickmakers, yeah.
I remember that gig. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't even. Do you know what? With like the pandemic and everything else, I just feel like I've completely lost track of time.
I can remember every detail about that gig.
Yeah, I remember
I'll
the
tell
gig
you
as
later.
well. It was snowing, wasn't it?
It was horrible weather.
Was it snowing?
It was certainly sleeting if it wasn't snow.
Yeah.
It was rubbish weather outside. I remember that.
I remember us having to pack the gear up outside pretty
Yes,
much.
I remember. That's one thing I remember
Because
too.
we were packing our guitars up in the snow
Oh yeah.
because we couldn't block the fire exit.
That's right. That's right. It's all
So that's
down.
enough stuff.
Yeah, that is one problem with the Brickmakers, because I used to play up there a bit myself when I was at uni up there and stuff. So yeah, you do end up packing your gear outside, which is always a night.
Yeah.
In
Then
the
it's-
snow.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking I've probably left a couple of guitars in the car park somewhere, but
Yeah. I remember people carrying stuff out and putting
Yeah, I
it on
did.
like the bench, and it's like, not my omnichord in the snow, please don't.
Yeah, but it's a great little gig, isn't it?
It is a
It's a
great gig.
great little room to play in. So
It's a great venue, definitely. It's just
yeah, maybe to do
yeah.
that again.
It'd be nice to have somewhere to unpack properly.
Yes,
it
it
would
would.
really be great.
So was there one song when you were going through the writing process that you think sort of set the trajectory of this album off, as it were, do you think, or was it just all forming together?
That's a
What
really
was the
good
first song we
question.
recorded?
The first song we recorded was actually Casting
I thought
Spells.
it was.
But the first song written for the album was A Dangerous Thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what? That's a really good question. I think The Tide was the second song we recorded, and I think The Tide definitely set the scene. And that's why it became the opening track.
Mm-hmm. I think the first track you put down in the studio is vitally important. It is to me. It's a kind of a confidence thing, isn't it? If the first track that you've recorded feels good, then you're hungry for the next one and the next one and the next one. I can't imagine a feeling. I mean, it always has been that way with us, fortunately. But if you have a first track that you get down and you feel unhappy with it or disappointed with it in some way, that must be such. No, we never have.
Well,
But I'm always afraid of that feeling. You know, that the first track won't have that kind of essence that you need to give you that motivation to do the rest of the album. But so far, we've always had good first tracks. Yeah.
But then you just get excited when you're in the studio, don't you? Because even if you think, oh, well, we've played this song a few times, it doesn't actually feel that new.
Yeah.
When it starts getting its studio clothes on,
Yeah,
and it scripts up,
Transforms,
like,
doesn't it?
yeah, that's right.
It's exciting.
Yeah, you can take an idea out and play it at a show for whatever reason and just try to test it out. But when, like you say, when you get into the studio, it transforms even more. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Totally. And we've got unlimited hands in the studio, so we can put whatever we want
Yeah.
on, which is all, and we always give ourselves, complete free reign, whatever it needs.
It's an exciting process, isn't it? Taking a song that has a form already, a live form, and we hone that live form pretty accurately. So we know what we're doing with live. There's very little improvisation in what we do live. It's all very prescribed. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
No,
but it's a very secure feeling.
But there's only us two, so we can't be wandering off.
So when we get in the studio, we just go crazy, really, and think, well, bring the orchestra in. What about vibes or anything, and that's great. That's a great feeling.
Have you ever stopped? I've always wanted to start, because, like you say, there's only two of yourselves and the layers and everything that you build up. Have you ever stopped yourselves doing something in the studio because you're conscious that in a live setting you might not be able to have that element to it?
Never.
No, never. Or else we wouldn't do hardly any what we do in the studio. And we've kind of made peace with, when you come and see us live, you hear the songs live. You're not going to get the orchestra or the brass or the drummer or whatever. You might get the drummer if we're playing drums on the track, but you're not going to get you're going to get the essence of the song.
Exactly.
And we've made peace with that. We don't try and make it sound like the record. The two different experiences to us.
I think our fan base has made not just peace with it. I think they actually enjoy that kind of having two different variants of the song. There's a recorded version and there's a live version. They're both valid, but in different ways because there's different restrictions upon us. So I like having different versions of the same song. I mean, for example, now we're getting kind of like we want to revisit some of those elderly songs and reinvent them in a different way, like we've done with Not Over Yet, which was quite an old song. You know, that was many years ago. But we decided to reinvent it in the live show and make it again electric guitar, really heavy. So you know, I don't think we did that at the Brickmakers. That's more recent than that. But that now is become one of our closing songs, and you know, I think it's nice to revisit these songs, like Dust off the album when we play it live.
Dust. I thought the vocal
Very different,
was great.
Very different live.
Well, it was great vocal on Dust. I really enjoyed that, mate.
That's not me.
You not?
No way.
Oh, was it? I just assumed it was you.
Everybody does.
Oh yeah. Go on, you tell them the story.
Well, it's me, slowed down.
Oh, I assumed it was Rick because of the tempo and everything.
No.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
Everybody does. Which is fine.
I still enjoyed it.
Good. Well, I think it's one of the most beautiful songs we've ever produced. I'm really, really proud of that song. But go on, tell the story of Dust, because it's an interesting one, you know.
Well, I remember feeling that song really, really deeply when it was written anyway, but I remember we recorded it, and I remember thinking, it's not really captured that sadness. And I remember we were playing around and I was like, what would it sound like if it was just a little bit slower? And I slowed it down and we were like, and then we went into the studio and slowed it down even more. It was like, let's make it even sadder, make it like, you know, that kind of, so it really captures that feeling of loss where you really feel like you're like wading through treacle. You know, you're slow and the whole world's carrying on, but you're just like.
Actually, I think we found the soul of the song.
Yeah.
When we slowed it down, it's half speed. The whole thing, the instruments, the piano is slowed down to half speed. Don't just the vocals. I'm doing the backing vocals on it, and it sounds like a choir of whales mating or something. You know, it's taken on a different kind of and singing at the same time, which maybe they do. I don't know. Good for them if they do. But it kind of it's slowing it down. It found the reality of the song, didn't it? It was like deep sadness that you could almost never sing in reality. It found a depth that wasn't quite there. I'm really pleased with it.
So obviously live, we definitely can't do
that. So it's a really happy song.
Completely different tempo and everything live.
Absolutely. It actually is, but we really enjoyed rediscovering it live. And like a few people have said, can you record that version as well?
Yeah. Well, that's great. You know, I like this kind of variant concept. It's great.
I say it's nice to have those two versions, as you know, of the live setting and the studio setting as well. It's like for me myself, I think Walls, when you play that at the Brickies, I really enjoyed that song in particular. Then went back and listened to yourselves and there in the studio, which is obviously completely different. But I almost enjoy discovering that other side of it, because sometimes you go see a band and you know what you get is what you get, sort of thing, which is fine if it's you know, depending on the artist. But it was almost cool to discover, like you say, like another angle on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we don't sort of play around with melodies really, you know, so that people come out and they're like, this doesn't even sound it, you know, it's the song, it's the essence of the song really that you experience live, like the bare naked song.
I mean, one rule that we've imposed upon ourselves a long time ago, and we don't intend to break it, is that when we're live, every single note and sound you hear is live. There's no tracks supporting us and nothing like that. Whereas, you know, being a duo, it would be so easy to have ingredients from the album as a track in a live show, and before you know where you are, you'd be just singing along to your album. I hate when I see bands do that. I really think, oh, come on, guys.
And lots of people use backing tracks, and you know, I'm sure lots of people have to.
You would expect us to, you know.
No,
you know.
Well, I don't know. I think it's fine if that's what you want to do. I think the majority of people probably do that, but we decided that, well, then we could easily be the Blackheart Orchestra then, because we could have all the string sections.
They say you can play everything out.
Yeah, but we wanted to be able to, you know, strip back what's essential in the song, and we get to play all the instruments, you know. They're not on a track. We get to pick and choose what we're going to play on that song, and that's the fun part.
You know, if we have to play two instruments at the same time, like Wolves and stuff like that, and other songs. So be it. You know, I like a steep mountain to climb, not an easy hill and dale just to stroll up. You know,
sometimes I wonder if we do give ourselves a hard time, but a lot of the time as well. So I get it with some bands as well, that the sound is really thick and heavy, but a lot of our stuff has a lot of space in, so we can do that.
Yeah, I'm not putting
really
the other way down at all.
Yeah.
It's just that, you know, we've created that rule, and as far as we can, we've got to stick to it.
Absolutely.
It's a challenge. We love it.
I was going to say, it's got to be a challenge when you, like you say, especially if you're, like you said earlier, not stopping yourself doing certain things in the studio, so because of that transition to the live arena, as it were. So it's got to be that challenge, knowing that, all right, hang on, there's certain key components, even if you are doing it as a live version, that we need, which is still realistically more than 2 musicians would stereotypically do in a live setting. Yeah, it's got to be tricky, but yeah, hats off to you for not doing the easier route, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, if we did do it, we'd probably really enjoy it. We'd be like, oh, I love it when that comes in here.
Oh, we would.
But actually,
you get very easily seduced into it.
We don't want to be too nice to ourselves, do we?
No way. we want to come off stage exhausted. Yeah. Definitely. If we're not, that's not. We're not worked hard enough.
I saw you guys all set up for the Prog Awards for the Readers Poll as well. I saw that going out for that, which is cool.
Yeah. I mean, Prog have been so supportive of us.
Absolutely.
And that you know, a lot of our fan base has been grown via them. So it's really nice to be embraced by that community.
Absolutely. We owe them a huge debt, really.
Especially when we don't really know what we are. It's like they'll have us, then that's really nice. It's nice to have a home, isn't it?
It is. Well, prog is just like a music loving world, isn't it? You know, in a way you can define prog very narrowly, but really when you look at the prog universe, it's vast, isn't it? And it's just beautiful and wonderful. So we're very happy to be part of that Milky Way of music. Let's just say Milky Way of music. What am I talking about?
That's quite a prog thing to say, to be fair. But yeah, no, you're right. Like you say, there's a much more richer tapestry there to access. And, you know, people could very, like say, narrow-mindedly just go, oh well, it's just 8-minute songs, or it's just you know, it's just Pink Floyd or whatever. But it's not. And there's some great bands coming through the ranks that I thought that are getting put into that category. And it seems to be these days a lot more open to anyone who's just like yourselves, who don't want to, that aren't really in a category as such. They're just playing what they play, and whatever comes out that's what's supposed to happen. And to me, no matter what genre you're playing, that's what should be happening. You shouldn't be scared to do a certain type of song because you see yourselves as we're defined by this song, therefore we can't do that. Absolutely. I think any true fan of your music would just follow you along that path anyway.
Absolutely. There's no fences around our field at all.
You don't want to lock yourself in your own prison, do you? That's really miserable if you're, you want to be able to, well, that's what art and music's all about, isn't it? Pushing boundaries.
Right.
You know, it'd be, you know, if you were going to sit in your own boundaries, you wouldn't have anything. So
you'd just be rehashing and revisiting. Oh, why bother? Why bother once you've written the first album? Just play that. But I think that's the really good thing about prog as well, isn't it? I know, like, you have the ones that very much just like maybe 70s prog, but there's so many people who like you just said, like Steven Wilson and people like that. You know, there's loads and loads of great bands and great artists that go under that umbrella of progressive music, isn't there?
We've got to stick true to that word, not to the genre of PROG. We've got to stick true to the meaning of progressive and being progressive continuously and progressing in all sorts of 360 degrees of direction, and the prog world will grow and grow and grow and get better and better and better, which is an exciting future.
Which is really good.
That's what made me laugh when Steven Wilson came out with his last record, and there was quite a substantial online presence saying, this isn't what Steven Wilson does. You know, what is he doing? And I'm like, he's done a different album every album he's done. Through all the Porcupine Tree and stuff he's done, all his solo work, no 2 albums have ever been the same. So how are you defining what he does and doesn't do?
And he's done it, so obviously it is what he does.
Yeah.
You know, there's only one person who defines what an artist does, and that's the artist. Whether you appreciate that side of them or not, that's a completely different, you know, topic.
Yeah, because you can choose to buy the album,
absolutely.
can't you? You can choose to go to the gig and watch it if you want to.
You can get off the bus anytime you like, if you like where it's going. But I do like where he's going.
Yeah, I like where he's going too.
You know, I like the fact that he you know, put in the interview, you know, I just wanted to do an album where I wasn't using guitar. I wanted to go explore my synthesizers and do that. And I thought what he was produced on this last record's been amazing.
Yeah, and I really respect that. And that feels very in line, kind of like with what we kind of do as well, that, you know, you want to do stuff that excites you. It has to excite you first.
Of course.
And then hopefully, you know, we want people to enjoy it. Of course we do. But we have to have felt it first.
And I think music has to have the energy of the composer and the artist within it. You know, you can somehow kind of tell, almost smell the energy of creation in great music, the excitement that was there at the point of creating it, and that comes over to the listener, and it excites them. Hopefully, you know, that excitement is transferred.
Well, the energy is
as a gift to the listener.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely does. I'm just laughing at him coming into the interview. I love it. It's normally my cat that makes an appearance. So
yeah, I know. Bash, my dog, always has to join us on any Zoom interview that we do. He has to make an appearance.
Well,
I do apologise.
You're fine. It's good. All good by me. I love it. It's been great to chat to you guys again. Like I say, the album's brilliant.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you guys, and thanks for your time. It's been brilliant to talk to you again. At the beginning of the interview, I'm going to play Astronaut because we mentioned it quite a bit.
Okay, great.
But what song off the album would you like us to play at the end of the interview?
Oh, it's got to be Flood for me because I love that song.
But Flood is a long song. Are you allowed to play a long song?
I'm sure I can play what I like.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Do something different.
Balance, yeah.
I'm up for that. Show like contrast on the album, definitely.
Yeah, that would be great. And please let us know when
it's out. When it's going out.
Yes, so I will be airing this not tomorrow, but next Friday. So
next Friday, okay.
Next Friday.
Perfect.
So out, and if it's all right with you guys, what I'd do is because we have quite a cool chat and it goes on longer than I can ever air it. Set up a YouTube channel to put like the whole interviews on, so people can go check them out there as well. So if that's cool with you, I'd like to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Superb, yeah.
Absolutely, as long as Bash is in it, he said.
Yeah.
I think we can work with that. That's fine. All right, guys, it's been great to chat to you again, and hopefully see you soon.
Yeah, hopefully see you. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for having us. Bye.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Bye. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.